Good night, Tewksbury. It is 6:03 p.m. It is Thursday, June 20th, 2019, and I'd like to call this meeting of the Tewksbury Board of Health to order. First on our agenda tonight is approval of minutes from our last meeting, which was on May 16th, 2019, of which you have a copy. Does anyone have any comments or edits? Or questions?
Nothing here.
Nope.
Nothing here, so I move that we accept the minutes as present this evening.
Okay.
A second?
Okay. So motion's been put forth and seconded to approve the minutes of the May 16th, 2019 meeting as submitted. All those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Motion carries 4-0. And even though we're televised for the audio portion, let it be known that member Tony Bichetti is not able to attend tonight, so there's just 4 members present tonight. But we still constitute a quorum. Okay, moving on to new business. First is Cottage Place, 1147 Main Street, appeal the Board of Health order to tie into municipal sewer. So if you'd like to step forward, and there is a sign-in sheet there for your name and address.
I will have to recuse myself as I have a conflict.
Okay?
Thank you.
And it's going to be redundant, but once you've done that, if you just want to state your name and address as you've written into the microphone clearly, I'd appreciate it for record.
Absolutely.
My name is Ryan Severance. I'm an attorney from the law office of Merrill and McGeary. We represent Cottage Place condominium.
Okay? And Director, would you like to start off?
Sure. Cottage Place is 1147 Main Street. It's a office condominiums. I believe there's 28, somewhere about there, 20-something.
There were originally 30. Several
30.
have been combined.
Okay.
So I believe we're around 28, yes.
Something about that, 28. I was contacted by a prospective buyer and their attorney about a sale that was pending, and there were some complications with that. It turned out that the septic system, this property was on a septic system. It's a property I've never known to be on septic or sewer, so I had no knowledge of that before. But there was some question during the sale, I guess, whether the system was able to handle what the new proposed use was going to be, which was a hairdresser, according to the person who called me. Even though there has always been a hairdresser and maybe one or more other types of places that aren't just offices there. So there was a lot of conversation, and in looking through the regulations, it turns out that this septic system was designed and sized back in 1981 for office use based on 75 gallons per minute per 1,000 square feet. Office does not count such items as hairdressing or dentists, things like that. So there was a lot of discussion, and it ended up that I ended up writing a letter to Houghton Property Management and the board of directors there, or I should say Cottage Place trustees, and that was in May 17th, and basically, stating what had come up and a remedy about that we have, because we have a local regulation requires when you find out something has failed that they were supposed to tie into sewer within 30 days. However, since I knew there was going to be other circumstances, because it's a very large place, they might need more time. I just asked them to do within 30 days to, hire an engineer and start the process, and then gave them another 120 days to do the tie-in. So that letter went out, and we received a response from the firm Merrill and McGeary, asking for an appeal. The letter is a notice to appeal the Health Department order letter. As the order was not expected or foreseen by the board requests sufficient time to retain engineers to investigate the order, provide the board with advice and recommendations, and appear on the board's behalf at the hearing. My expectation is this may take up to 90 days. Thank you. After some conversation with the chairman and we determined that we would have them come. This would be their hearing, which is less than that 90 days. And at that hearing, we'd open this up for conversation. And to be fair, I, at this point, sent this particular letter to all of the units. Not necessarily to the people, we didn't look up everything, we sent it to all the unit owners so that they would be aware of this, not knowing whether or not that they would get notified by the trustees or not. So here we are tonight, basically having them here to request, I'm not sure what. So I guess it's up to you to put in the request and the board has questions.
Can I ask a...
Absolutely.
Who are you representing? Are you representing a condo or the
I'm representing the condominium board of
the
trustees.
condominium board of trustees?
Correct.
Okay.
And I guess just one other thing for anyone that may be watching tonight, this is not an issue where it's a local Board of Health regulation that is called into question. It's a DEP regulation that local boards of health are asked to enforce on behalf of the state.
Correct. We do have a local regulation, and that's the 30-day requirement of a failure. This isn't a certified failure. There's not a Title V done. This is new information that's come to us. We did not know that these uses were at this location. They had not been, we didn't have, I think, anything in process back then to identify when someone changed their use. Right now, if it comes, we have a process now. There's a courtesy signatures that we get from each department so that we can try to advise customers or owners or whoever is before us, because it's incumbent on the owner of the property to comply with these regulations, but we don't know what we don't know. So the fact that they entered into this, and it's existing, so it's not a case of, well, you could do a Title V and determine that it's passing, because it's not in compliance. And it's in a use that we would not have been able to say yes to, because DEP specifically says with that use that you would need to either get state approval or there'd need to be a tight tank. However, also with tight tanks, if sewer goes by your place, you must tie in within 30 days. So had it been found out when they did change and they put in a tight tank, they would have had to tie into sewer when that came by anyway. So in this system, again, it was designed in '81, so it's coming to its end of lifetime anyway. So unfortunately for the applicant, who was looking at being the next hairdresser in that location, I had to inform them that I would be unable to sign the building permit if it did come before us, if it had a change of use that would change the flow
And there's
and what was
also
coming in.
a dental office in that facility.
Right, I haven't even established whether there are many other, there could be something else, I didn't really know, I just know that it's not.
And there are regulations regarding when you combine units. There are other regulations that apply to this as well. You said there were 30 now, there were 27, a couple of combined, or...
I know there is at least one unit that has been combined. It actually happens to be the unit in question here, the new salon, whenever that gets approved. I'm not 100% positive as to how many other combined units there are. I believe there may be one more. I believe we're looking at 28 units here, down from the original 30.
So we're in that position where, we enforce the DEP regulation. This is, again, new information that's come to light. We've asked them and provided time for them to tie in, but they are asking for time to get advice from engineers,
Well, he's asking for 90 days, right?
but saying expectation is may take up to 90 days, so I guess the,
That's less than 120, right?
So,
yeah, so anyway, no, but actually tie-in, they're just getting information to appeal.
Oh,
They're
they want
asking.
the...
That would,
They
that would
wanna
postpone the 120 days by
Yeah.
90
Then
days.
add that time frame?
If I'm correct in
So we'll
your,
let them decide,
Yeah,
we'll see
correct.
what their request
Yeah,
is.
correct.
But that's why I couldn't do that, I couldn't give that, that's why we threw them on tonight.
understood?
Yep.
Okay,
Understood. So, as I'm sure you can probably understand with a condominium and the process behind it, it's not simple. You know, Susan already pointed to the fact that, you know, notifications to unit owners and things like that. Undertaking a process that's going to change this in this way, the unit owners will incur costs. The board needs to go about this in a very measured and calculated fashion. And they have already begun speaking to several different companies about this process. The three of them are their existing septic company, which is Tewksbury Septic, and then there's Whitewater and Small Water, which are two companies that will probably be working on the engineering. These are companies with which Houghton Property Management has done some business in the past. But unfortunately, the 30-day window to be able to engage the services of one of these companies is very difficult for a condominium where the board has to meet, they have to get together, they have to take quotes, things like that, to actually engage services and begin the process of, you know, preparing to tie in is very, it's time consuming. It takes, you know, time goes by before they know it. So the reason why our original letter asked for the 90 days is because we believed that that was enough time to let the board figure out who are we going to use, let's get some pricing, let's figure out what's going to happen here. Because however many units we're talking about, like I said, I believe 28, this is going to be passed on to the unit owners. They are going to have to pay not only for the engineering, but the process of tying in. So this process has to be done. The condominium documents alone require this process to be, unfortunately, kind of slow. And it isn't that the trustees don't care or aren't responsive to the problem. They didn't know it was an issue either. They had no idea. So now they're trying to work with people that, you know, they hopefully can trust to undertake this process. And basically, the reason why I'm here is because I'm asking for another 60 days for them to be able to engage the services of an engineer, figure out their next steps. What are we doing here? You know, everyone, the board has reviewed your letter, so have we, so has the property manager. But again, they're looking for, you know, what are we doing? How are we doing it? Who are we, you know, they're, you know, yes, they are business owners, but they don't know anything about, you know, septic systems. They don't know anything about sewerage. So they're working with the people that they have, but unfortunately, it's not a fast process. And one of the reasons why, as I'm sure you probably know, is this is a busy time for both their current septic contractor, who they would like to have involved, and for these other, you know, water companies that are going to advise them on tying in.
Okay,
So
that's
that's what we're
That's a
asking
little
for.
different than the request was about. They wanted 90 days just to investigate the order, so
Well,
are you
that-
changing that request to?
No, that's what I mean. I mean, we need another 60 days. I recognize 30 have passed.
Yeah.
We would like another 60 days to be able to plot a course, discuss it with the unit owners, discuss costs, and then we will come back before you and we will explain, here is what we're going to do. And, you know, I can't, the
Okay.
board is not far enough along for me to tell you anything about exactly what they're going to do.
So you're
I
not really
recognize.
appealing the order, you were just asking for
Asking
time.
for more time.
So that's a little different than what the assumption was, that they wanted the time to investigate so that they may be appealing the order
Well,
to tie in.
To
at
be
total.
truthful
So
with
is
you,
there-
I don't know whether they're going to
Okay.
appeal the order. We are not sure. They're still interested in engaging the services of someone that they feel is an expert on this subject.
Yeah, because
None
you
of
wouldn't,
us-
if
none
you were
of
just
us are.
asking for time, that's, you know. different understanding.
expert in relation to,
In terms
sewer.
of an engineer, someone
Okay.
with again,
it sounds like you're going forward, that you understand that that's got to be connected to sewer, so that's understood. And now you're,
Well, no, he's saying he's not even sure if the board's going to.
I'm saying they have begun the exploratory process of doing it. They've read your letter, they understand your position. I'm not saying they disagree with it. What I am saying is that they've turned to these engineers, these other experts. I mean, these are two large companies, and they'd like to work with them to figure, probably one of the two of them, obviously, figure out what are our next steps here. You know, what are their thoughts on these laws? What are their thoughts on the DEP process? And where do we go from here?
So,
it's not as complicated from this side of the table as it is from that side of the table. Your problem's going to be with the individual units, the owners.
Oh,
This side of the table,
absolutely.
the process to connect that to sewer is not a complicated
Oh,
event.
I understand that.
It's just a cost,
Sure.
and then
Absolutely.
it goes back to the condos.
But they need to figure out how they're going to do it.
They need to figure out how they're going to avoid paying it.
Oh, I'm not saying they're looking to avoid paying.
Well, I don't know, I have, the state gives us 30 days, or gives you 30 days upon notice, right? What type of
But again,
jurisdiction
it's
do we
not a-
have beyond the 30 days?
It's not a traditional violation. There's not anything, there's no proof that the septic system has failed
It's
or
not
anything like
failing.
that.
It is performing as it was designed. The problem is there's industrial contaminants going into the aquifer, which is a whole different story. That's why it's out of our hands, basically, I think. I don't think we can even consider any type of lead time beyond the 30 days. You got to go to the state.
Yeah,
It's in Title V. There's nothing, with that system, that's performing the way it was designed. There's no question, there's no outward signs of failure or anything like that there. The problem is beneath the ground. There's, like in the dentist office, is there an emulsion, what's it called? There's a separator that's been recently required by the federal government that be installed in each dental office. Is that, we don't even know if that's there. We don't even know that it's a requirement
Yeah.
at this point. But what I'm saying is that the state gives that site 30 days. I'm not sure we have the jurisdiction to do anything other than
Which,
refer back to the state.
that part, I'm
I
not
don't-
sure. You're talking about if they had a tight tank and sewer goes by, or are you talking?
Well, it's been brought
It's
to
our
light.
local regulation that if it, quote, fails, we
Yeah, I was
require
told it was a
people to do it
local
in
regulation of the 30 days.
So I'm not sure which
Okay, can I read
piece.
it? I'll read it out loud.
Yeah, no, I
Okay.
just didn't know which
It's number
piece.
5, it's,
Yeah. I'm not arguing.
15-260, item 5. When a sewer system becomes available,
Yeah,
comma,
right.
statement, any person owning a tight tank shall connect to the sewer within 30 days, and the tight tank system shall be abandoned in accordance with 310 CMR 15354.
So
That's,
they should have a tight tank system, but they
but they don't even have a tight tank.
Right, so there are in violation, so this, I could see why you're applying
So I'm
that,
saying,
yeah.
to me, it sounds like you got 30 days to figure out how you're gonna connect this thing, or appeal to the state. I don't think it's in our jurisdiction to go beyond that. I don't know. If we had Bob up here, I could ask him,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
I mean, I don't know either. I'm not an expert in
Well, you're
these.
a lawyer, and that's a law, that's a statement of law. How would you interpret that?
Oh, I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm not familiar with the way that's applied or anything else. In my situation, even as a lawyer, it's good to rely on people who really know these things. I'm not familiar with the, state sewerage and septic regulations. I have read them, absolutely, but I'm not familiar with them or how they're applied. The gentlemen that work at these two different companies, of which I have worked occasionally, I've worked with them occasionally, they are familiar with them. They have people who are experts that I rely on their staff. And again, I want to emphasize, I'm not saying that we're not going to comply. I'm just saying we're just looking for some time to figure out where are we going from here. This is an old condominium. It's got a lot of unit owners. you know, as trustees, the trustees that I represent, the property management company that I represent, we're just trying to plot the best course forward here. And it's taken some time to get in touch with these people and figure out what's going on and figure out what they, you know, how they believe that these laws apply, et cetera, and what to do from there. So my understanding was that with the 30 days that we were given by the town, that we were looking for, could we maybe move that back another 60 days, finish our collection, our information collecting process, come back before you with a plan.
I don't want you to come back in 60 days and tell me you don't have a plan, they're not going to do it. That's what I'm saying. There's a situation occurring right now. There's a pollutant and industrial waste going into the aquifer that's been brought to light. That's occurring now. You don't have tight tanks there, so it's not something that you're just trying to accommodate what we're trying to do in the world here. It's occurring now. And I think that something needs to be a little more expedient
I
around
was a
getting
little,
something
I was a little
done here.
lenient, is that what you're saying? I gave them an extra 120, but
120, when I saw,
The
that's what
third-
I said, your 90 days is within the 120, I kind of laid back. Now I'm saying, you're going to come back in 90 days and possibly tell us,
You're not-
nobody wants to pay the money to connect it to sewer, and I don't either. I wouldn't either.
Oh, again, I mean, it is a matter of money, because the board, you know, the unit owners will have to pay for this, but I'm not asking the board to, you know, consider that aspect of it so much. I'm just explaining that there's a process to how this has to work, and unfortunately, it's not because people want it to. Unfortunately, the process takes some time. The board had to get together.
there is finding, you know, as well,
Yeah,
I'm sure.
so we have an engineer on board yet, or no?
They have begun talking to, I'm not going to say they've engaged one, they've begun talking to these two companies, Whitewater and Small Water. These are the names of two different companies.
Never heard of them.
They're both based in Central Mass. One, I believe, is based in Charlton. But they are used to dealing with a lot of different septic issues because there are a lot of septic systems in Central
Have
Mass.
they been to the site at all? They haven't asked me for any information
They
at
have
all?
not been to the site yet, no.
So no one has called me?
Until they are engaged, I don't believe they're going to come to the site. But they are, the property manager works with them. I have worked with them on at least one case. And we, both the property manager and I, have spoken to them about this.
So let me ask you this, Charlie, without knowing background of either firms, do most septic companies also do sewer tie-in work? Or does a septic company tend to be just septic
They're
only?
completely different events.
Yeah, I mean,
And
there's
different
a
licenses.
there's a
Septic
list.
license, installer's license, a drain layer's license, there's all different licenses, different companies do. Some may
Towns,
do
yeah, town's
a couple of them.
license.
Yep, town
They
license,
have to
So-
get a
be
license for the
bonded
town.
by the town.
My concern is that
You
when
go to town, license.
you're listing septic firms that are trying to determine next step forward,
That's
not
Well,
going towards
these
the
are
end.
not just companies that only do septic. I'm sorry if that was what I led you to believe. These are companies that are involved in all different aspects of this process.
And they're
We're not
also-
talking about septic pumping companies. We're talking about large-scale water engineering firms that are engaged in sewer planning, that are engaged in septic and leach field planning. I mean, these are things that they are.
You're jumping off the high board, this isn't that complicated.
Why would you not, there's a list with the Department of DPW. They have a list that's they are licensed people that are licensed
Drain
to drain
layers.
layers. You can't just hire anyone. Why
Well,
not
right,
go
but-
locally if it's an emergency, which it is?
But
Why wouldn't
what
you
you're
try
talking
to go
about is
locally?
people to tie in, to do the physical tie-in.
Yeah.
I believe that, not I believe, I know that the board has already spoken to, I know that Tewksbury Septic is not a plumber, is not going to do the tie-in.
Yeah, no,
But they have already spoken to Eugene from Tewksbury Septic to speak to him about who are we supposed to work with to do the tie-in. The engineering firms are to advise them on what are we doing here, what are these laws, let's take a look. And that is because the trustees feel they need to get an opinion on how is this working, how is this process, what are we doing here? The town has come to us, we've all been here, we've all owned units here for all these years, no one ever realized there was any kind of an issue. Let's get a professional opinion. And I am a lawyer and I can read laws, but I can't tell you how they
Trying to
apply
apply
to.
it here, but it's,
So I understand what you're saying, that this is not that complicated, but again, the trustees are engaged in a process that they're trying to represent the best interests of their 28 unit owners.
I believe there's only one septic tank there, and there's only one access point, so it's really a point A to point B event from an engineering perspective. And there are no questions around whether or not it can be, or it should be, or maybe it can't be. It's got to be done. So it's a matter of point A to point B connection, and find a company that's going to connect it.
Sure.
And then, I mean, I don't know if we got the cart before the horse here, but this sounds, I don't want to come back in 120 days or 90 days and say, well, they don't think they have to do it because they have a system that's been operating
It's not relevant.
fine for 32 years. That's the other thing. The system is 32, 33 years old. That's a septic system. That's very old for a septic system.
Sure.
So you're almost time to get there anyway.
Well, the other piece that is, again, outside our hands, is that where there is the beauty shop and barber shops are listed as an industry category that DEP states cannot use
Septic.
septic.
So
So any request to allow a prohibited category from using septic has to go to DEP for their review.
so they might just have to cease
And
operation.
I understand what you're saying, and that's part of the reason why these two firms were spoken to about this situation of if this goes to DEP, if this is, it seems like, DEP is, kind of forcing you, the board's hand here, which I understand is the law, but, what are their processes? How do things go with the DEP? Again, the board asked for this information, and that's what we're
How it
working on.
goes-
So there are two paths forward. You tie into sewer, you go to DEP
I get
and
it.
ask for
I get it.
a site-specific exclusion.
Sure, and.
Which can be done in parallel.
Sure, absolutely. And I believe that that's one of the options that could be on the table, is that that's one of the reasons why is that these two companies have some experience talking to the DEP about these types of exclusions.
You're trying to exclude having to connect it to municipal.
I don't,
You see, that's not going to happen.
I'm
It's not going to
not,
happen. Well, unless you remove the beauty salon and the dentist office. It's not
I
gonna
understand what you're saying.
happen. So it's, to me, I don't think it's in our jurisdiction to allow anything beyond what states in Title V. I don't think we have that authority. I mean, it's nice, I'm glad now we know what's going on over there, but
I mean, again, the reason, I understand what you're saying, but the reason why I'm in here particularly is because you guys had asked within 30 days for us to engage services, and we were not able to actually engage someone yet. So I'm here in response to the letter to provide information about what we are doing, which is we have been working on it. We are not sitting on our laurels doing nothing or prepared to do nothing. We're working on it.
Could you contact a local company to come out quicker and take a look at it instead of waiting for these two large companies that are in the middle of the state?
Sure.
That might make sense, because
Both companies do work all over the
They
state,
do.
so
I mean,
they're based in
they've
Central
waited.
Mass, but both companies work all over the state. And sure, absolutely, I can certainly suggest that to the board. I can't force the board to do anything, but I can certainly suggest that to the board.
Well, taking this path seems like the intent is to try to get DEP to allow prohibitive use and allow the septic system to continue to be used. Because if not, as Mr. Rue was saying, it's very easy to engage a wastewater engineer to design the tie-in for sewer and have it be done. Yes, I understand there's a lot of administrative procedures that have to be done at the address, but that's totally, to me, separate.
I think I'd just like to emphasize to you that it's just the board engaging in an information process. They need to inform themselves. These are not people that understand septic systems or sewerage systems, nor is this my specialty.
But if they were told you've got to connect it to sewer. Do they understand what needs to happen from that point on, or are they still contemplating whether they're not? It sounds like they're still maneuvering between, we're going to apply for some type of variance. They're not going to get one.
Well, again, I mean, this is something that I can't speak on every single board member's behalf. I can just tell you that they asked me to come here, they asked me to ask for an additional 60 days to be able to plot a course forward and figure out what was gonna happen. As far as engaging a local company, absolutely, happy to suggest that to them, think that's a perfectly reasonable, suggestion. The only reason why companies that, are based in Central Mass are used, they have a relationship with the management company.
And when we say local, we literally just mean there's a list
Oh, yeah.
already approved at DEP.
I get
that
it.
You could look at. It doesn't mean they're here. They
I
could
heard you
be-
say that.
They
Sure.
could be anywhere.
No,
so-
that wasn't what I,
Yeah, I don't want you
understand
to
what
think
you
we're
mean.
pushing
No, no,
local
no,
companies.
not at
We're
all.
just-
No.
It's just, yeah, I don't know, the existing ones that are now going to be in violation.
So,
Not sure where we go with
one,
those.
one
Where do we
piece of
go?
information for you about the existing units that I understand are in violation is the,
We'll have to look at the rest of them.
the hair salon unit is not used very often. That unit's not used often.
That's unfortunate.
I don't know the status of the dentist's office, but the hair salon that exists there now is not used often. I spoke to the property manager about that today.
So they could-
That's
they
used
could-
on a part-time
they could-
basis.
They could cease probably and use another location if it's not that important.
So in 60 days, we may get something back that says that we've talked to a few people, and we've talked to the condo owners, and 2 have agreed, and 10 say they're not sure
Well,
yet.
remember, the board is not going to leave this to the condo owners to decide whether they're going to connect. The board is going to engage the services of someone, and this is what I've been talking about, to figure out what the board is going to do, and then the board will be undertaking the process of having a special assessment to pay for this.
How many people are on the board?
There are 2 people on the board.
2 people on the board. Is one of them the hairdressers?
One of them is the hairdresser.
See, we're
And
gonna
the
be
other
in
is the
60 days.
dentist. The
Is it
other is the
really?
dentist.
You're kidding me.
No, I'm not kidding.
No, the other is the dentist. I agree.
So it's 2
But
of them.
It just
again,
happens to be. It's
But
it's
again,
amazing. Yeah, it happens to be.
I've spoken to both of them extensively
This is
about this.
delaying.
They're not opposed to doing this. They just want information. That's all. That's all they want.
You want me to give them
I
a
don't
copy
think
of
there's a
this?
choice.
I mean,
There's an
Sense of
option.
urgency.
Yeah.
to me, there is no, let's investigate what the actual regulation is, because to me, it seems pretty cut and dry, and the process is laid out that if you have a industry category that's prohibitive, you can't be using the septic, or you can go to DP, so you don't need to hire someone just to,
I don't want to be the one reporting that to DEP at this point. It's clear in Title V. No person shall discharge or allow the discharge of waste from industry categories, one of which is a beauty salon and dental office, listed in 310 CMR 1500, blah, 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 to any system regulated under 310 CMR 1500, 15000. No system shall receive oil, hazardous materials, or waste, or radioactive waste. That system is currently receiving hazardous waste. A septic system is a porous base, and that material goes in, and it goes through the stone, it goes into the sand, it goes into the aquifer, and it moves. And it's not good. It's not, it's against the
And
law.
the board understands. They do. They
Okay.
just want information, and that's what they're doing. They're engaged in a process of information gathering. They're going to gather information, and we can come back. I mean, I could say we could come back in 30 days. Would that be better? We'll come back in 30 days. We'll figure out where we're going from here. I don't think that anyone on the board, despite the fact that yes, the board is the dentist and the hairdresser, the board is not trying to be unreasonable about this, nor are the unit owners.
It's
just trying to
curious to
figure
me
out.
that those 2 people that have, I mean, it's gonna cost somebody money. That those 2 people that own those types of businesses that are incurring these problems are the 2 board members. It's like,
Oh,
they're
that's
not-
purely happenstance. They're longtime board members, they've been board members for a long, long time, and neither of them had any idea that this property was in violation of anything. They had
Well,
no idea.
someone was concerned that adding another hairdresser would
Yeah.
hurt the septic system because apparently
It was
there were
brought
some
to light
problems.
that
and
there
that's
was
what they
already
were
one there
told.
in a dentist's office at that
So
time.
someone, there was clearly knew that something wasn't
So
right.
the reason for that is because the way that the condominium works is that businesses there need to be approved and by the board. And that, when that process was undertaken to approve the additional hair salon, that was when this came to light.
Right, and somebody mentioned that there happened to
How
be
does the
something.
town approve businesses, or do we approve businesses?
So I
Don't they
know.
have to come through, like, the building department or something? Or how do we,
When they're building, yeah,
when they're building, not when they're,
no?
Leasing space.
yeah, that's,
Well, they probably, yes, they do, because I think that they apply for their,
well, because I'm wondering how they got there in the first place. I
oh,
mean,
well, I can't.
No.
Yeah, well, I told you.
Without
we
a
didn't-
tight tank, yeah. I mean, they're there.
Clearly didn't ask the health department, so.
Well, the new process internally is it goes from different
That's
departments, and then
To
one will
catch
catch
these
it.
things.
So hopefully we would catch them now, yeah. That's
But I'm
the
saying in the
idea,
past-
even though it's still up to the owner to comply with the
Yeah,
regulations.
and then in non-compliance right now, I don't think we have a option. I don't think so. I won't.
So
the,
just to sort of summarize, just so I'm clear in the request, so you were originally looking for a 90-day period in which your two board members could elicit bids from multiple engineering firms, and between the two of them, find a time to meet and vote to see which
Well, that was
they will go
originally
with?
90 days, but that, of course, was 30 days ago. So
Right.
we were only looking for 60 from here, because they've already begun the process.
I mean, having worked in an engineering firm for 25 years, it does not take 60 days to select an engineer, or else we'd all be out of business. With that said, I'm even leery about giving 30 days to our next meeting, because I don't sense that anyone sees the gravity of the issue here. And I mean, one thing could be if the offending businesses were not to be operating until there was some ruling from DEP about can they continue to be discharging where it's an illegal discharge right now.
I think we at least have the responsibility to notify DEP of what's going on, and then maybe they should advise us as to what to do. I wouldn't want to be the one to tell somebody they can't operate a business in town. I live here, but somebody else may. We need to have a plan to connect this site to sewer,
Sure.
period. We can't come back in 30 days and say, we're still thinking about it. I've been here before. I was 66 yesterday. I'll accept it.
Sure. I've
But
done this
it's-
kind of thing before,
yeah,
too.
So we can't,
Emergencies happen.
Yeah.
They do.
this is this is just brought to light through the new business trying to come in here. Lo and behold, we have two existing businesses that are in violation with very strict DEP laws regarding the pollution of the aquifer. That's not cool. That's bad. That's got to be dealt with immediately, not in 120 days, or it's got to be dealt with immediately. And
Okay. I mean, again, I came here on the board's behalf to ask for a little bit more time to plot the course forward and figure out what's going on. I understand that you were saying that doesn't seem to you like that's an option, but that's why I'm here, is to ask for a little bit more time to plot a course forward and figure out what the board is going to do. And that will be a process that will solve the issue. That's what the board is looking to do. Excuse me. Solve the issue.
Well, it sounds like one of the things that we need to do or have the department is to officially notify DEP of the discovered violation.
Yeah, I was kind of just
Is
figuring.
we
they
have to
would
be
just
doing
do
both
it, so I
things in
didn't-
parallel.
I didn't go in that direction, so,
And really, they need to provide us
we're
guidance.
doing that.
yeah.
But based on what we don't have here tonight, we don't have anything really concrete to work with other than you're going to work with it. We need something that, I was looking for something to say that we're going to have, something moving in the direction of doing the connection. There is no other choice here. I'll tell you right now, there's no other choice here.
Okay?
And based on Title V, there's no other option here.
Okay?
So, I mean, I think we need to contact DEP to see what their position is on it and then take it from there.
So in the 120-day period, there was 30 that was for them to secure an engineer and get the design?
I mean, again, it's probably more liberal than it should have been, but 30 days I had given them to,
If we had something that you told us that you were engaging an engineer to connect that.
Right, that's what we
to
were looking
sewer,
for.
I
Then we'd
understand.
say,
There you
okay, let's join hands and move forward, the hell with
Yeah,
DEP.
that's what we
We don't
want.
have that.
I understand. I don't have that. I don't have that for
And
you.
we can't-
I do not have, I have the names of 2 companies that they have spoken to about this. That's what I have. I think I've described it pretty clearly to you.
Okay.
I do not have.
Unfortunately, I understand. Yes, this is what the point is. I'm looking
Okay.
for something different, though.
So in the letter that was sent to you on, or sent to the property management company on May 17th, and the second to last paragraph included in it is, therefore, the health department is requiring that by June 21st, 2019, tomorrow, a professional engineer be engaged and written proof be submitted. Where there's already been time lapse, they should be able to get that done within, to me, a 2-week period. And so I'd look at just extending that date by 2 weeks. Not looking at a 90-day extension because this has already been with them for a while. And at the same time, we also notify DEP of the violation. And ultimately, we have to abide by whatever DEP advises us to do in this matter. And I would hope that by our next meeting, that there would be some final resolution to what will be happening.
I mean, if it was what we were hoping for, there would be no need to
Right.
even come here. It just would move forward like it normally would do.
Yeah.
The application would come in and,
We could claim we were business friendly,
yeah,
but this is a, it's a violation of an environmental code that's obvious, it's in our face, it's sitting here, and we have nothing in front of us other than.
I understand.
We'll get back to you to let you know what we're gonna do, and we can't do that.
Okay.
So I think that,
is there a motion of any kind, or?
So, just so I'm clear, so you're proposing another 2 weeks? You
Well, they-
will, you
they
will
have to
also
decide
notify
that.
the
Yeah.
DEP?
yeah, we need to
They're hashing that out, so.
deliberate that ourselves.
Are we contacting DEP?
That would be part of our motions.
It's, this is a waste of time. And we'll get back to you with what the results are with that. I mean, they may come out and do a site visit.
Yeah, I don't know.
They'll come right out, though. And
So from your experience, how quickly would
they're gonna
DEP
shut the businesses down until they figure out what they're gonna do with that septic. That's my opinion of what they'll probably do. They'll probably shut the businesses down until they get if they had a plan.
I understand you would like a plan. I
Yeah.
do not have one to give you. I understand you want one. I do not have one to give you. I do believe I could give you one probably in 2 weeks, but I cannot give you one tonight. I do not have one to give
A
you.
plan to connect it to sewer?
I
See,
can't, see, I cannot, I cannot tell you I can tell you in 2 weeks, I can have something for you. I
Something-
cannot tell you exactly what it
What
will
it
be.
is, so it could be the same as tonight.
I am working with the board, no, it won't be the same thing. It'll be, we've engaged the services of someone. But I cannot tell you exactly what that will be. I cannot, I do not have that information. I understand you want that information, but I do not have it for you. I'm not trying to be obtuse or difficult. I've worked with the board, I've spoken to them extensively about this and their property manager. I have this much information as of right now. I can get more information for you in 2 weeks. I cannot, I would be willing to commit to, writing a letter, calling in 2 weeks, absolutely. I'll come back to the next hearing, certainly, but I cannot give you anything more than that right now.
I just don't want to be derelict of our responsibilities here.
I
As it-
understand.
We're a town, this town is within a state, and we have laws.
I understand.
So let's look at this then. We give them 2 weeks, and they have to come back with the deliverable in 2 weeks. It's either the engineered stamped design to tie in with sewer.
I think he's
Or-
talking about having engaged or retained an engineer, aren't you, in 2 weeks? He doesn't know. what he's doing.
I will listen to,
Oh,
I
or,
will
there's an
listen
or.
to what the board,
There's an or. So there are two paths that this is going to take. Either they have to tie in the sewer, in which case they have to engage an engineer to design the tie-in.
Within a reasonable amount of time.
Right. Or the other path is they go to DEP and hope that they can get a waiver.
Right, and then what I'm hoping with that,
And
if they
in
don't
2
come back
weeks.
on us.
So that
Right,
would have
and
to
in
be
2
filed.
weeks, we would want them to submit either the letter from DEP stating they're allowing a site-specific exemption for this type of business, so they don't see, they're allowing this violation to occur.
I don't think we can guarantee
do it.
DEP will respond, but in our timetable, unfortunately, but
We'll contact them or something.
we'll I mean,
Because we have to have an end result, either a letter from DEP stating they're fine with that, or if not, because we can't be wasting time and wait for that letter from them stating no, to then say, now there's another X number of days to get the design. So I think both have to happen in parallel, whether it's 2 weeks or whether it's by our next meeting. I think effort needs to be made to get us one of those two deliverables.
and if my inquiry comes up with some other action, I will just have to take it, whatever it is, but, we can't vote, we can't necessarily say what that's going to be. Maybe
They may tell you to
maybe
close.
sooner, maybe they may do something, I don't know.
And it's tough because this
We
is
don't know.
out of our hands, so it's like it's a DEP issue.
Kind of is now.
Well, now it is.
Occurring.
Yeah.
And it's been brought to light now.
Man.
We've got a problem now, and we have nothing, and we're gonna talk about it some more. And I don't think DEP is gonna be friendly to that response, but I just wanna be on the record by saying that I'm opposed to waiting any time beyond now to fix this thing. We need a plan now. We don't have, and I understand your predicament too. I know.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, that instead of calling the lawyer, it would have been, in your opinion, to call a contractor. So I get where you're going with, because that takes time. So I will do, what you said, I'll contact DEP, and then,
Looking for some direction
you know,
from them regarding a situation and see what they say.
I'll put it in writing, see if I can get an answer.
And then we'll have to contact you about, if they say something immediate, you're gonna, we'll
Yeah,
let
we
you know
can't.
immediately. But
But if they say time is okay, you're saying 2 weeks or 30 days?
as long as you're talking then to them tomorrow, I'm fine with whatever goes from there. I just want to be on the record saying that
Absolutely.
DEP gets notified immediately.
Well, I guess looking at this letter, tomorrow's deadline was to have the engineer engaged. So
Yeah.
as long as they can have an engineer engaged within 2 weeks, then hopefully DEP, that gives DEP
And
time
hopefully
to.
they agree with what I said, that it's okay to do that. And if they don't, we'll find out,
Right.
so.
I know.
So I guess really, the only motion we can make is just to move that the director of the department contacts or notifies DEP, because all the steps forward are really based on DEP.
And we're going to have you're going to get back to us with a conversation you're going to have with the condo association or the
sure, I can do that.
board based on what we talked about
Sure,
tonight, and then
absolutely.
see what their response is.
And I think that we just hold to the dates in the original letter until we get directed from DEP that we are to take a different course, because we're following state regulation. And and this should, because it said installation must occur within 90 days afterwards, it should be able to
That was my,
occur
that
very
was my
quickly.
date. That wasn't a DEP date. I was giving leeway for,
I mean, we're in prime excavation
Friendly.
time. It's not like we're
Very
encountering
friendly.
freezing soils or anything, so,
We had conversations back before you were on the board, and I was telling Susan this, that we were considering requiring all commercial businesses in town to connect to sewer and save the option not to connect to sewer for Title V approved septic system for the residents. And we had talked about that, and that was probably maybe 7 years ago. I wish we just had done it because we wouldn't have these problems, but.
okay, so I guess to summarize then, we've come full circle. So I guess our sole motion is going to be just to direct you to contact DEP and notify them of the violation and await their guidance. And
basically, this is,
the letter and the dates still
Stands
hold
right.
until we get clarification from DEP about,
Okay?
because we can't hold you to engage an engineer if for some reason they say this is acceptable.
Okay?
But I think with that, everything should be readily, I mean, it should be very easy to engage an engineer and to have all this. So I still look at, the dates are still very achievable, or the end completion date is still very achievable in this.
You couldn't even approve a tight tank installation over there, could you?
no.
No, you can't even approve it. As it stands right now, you couldn't even approve a tight tank installation. for the
Sewer is
people.
available.
So,
I saw that in the letter.
Okay, so I guess I can't make the motion. If someone just wants to make a motion to have the director notify DEP of the violation,
The letter stands, basically.
and the letter stands.
We'll make a motion to have the director contact DEP regarding our conversations here tonight in relation to, what's it,
1147?
1147 Main Street.
I will second the motion.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion that's been put forth and seconded signify by stating aye.
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 Chair votes aye as well. Motion carries 3-0. And I guess the other piece is that they had submitted a letter that they were hoping for a period of time in which to assess.
Once we contact DEP, I think we don't have any authority over doing anything.
Right.
I think they're,
No, I was just thinking, seeing if we had to make another motion of that, but it was, they were not specifically requesting any period. There was just a,
Expectation.
Expectation.
So we didn't, yeah.
so it was not a formal request to, for a delay. Okay. I think we're set on that. So I know we talked about, are you clear on what our path moving forward is?
You're going to
Okay.
notify the DEP? My only question would be, if you could please make sure, if you're going to send things out, could you also make sure a copy goes to our office? Whatever it is.
I have.
You know.
Yeah, I have.
No, I know. I didn't say you hadn't. I just want to make sure it remains open.
Yes.
Great.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Understood. Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night. Take them out.
Yeah.
Well, they're walk-on, they're not Attleboro, it's kind of a walk-on.
Yeah. So we're going to have, I guess one of the discretions of the chair is I get to change the agenda. So I'm going to play chairman tonight, and we're going to add a new item under new business, and that's going to be I guess it's a sort of a follow-up to our presentation from the Maria Ruggiero and some of the Tewksbury High students, but issues that they're concerned about at our last meeting where Representative Robinson was here. So,
They took action,
Yep.
and they wanted to present and show the results of their action. Does she need help?
No, maybe she needs someone else to hold one end?
Oh, Mr. Scarano is re-entering.
Thank you for having me back.
Yes, they are fantastic.
So you were sitting on when you heard what we said for the motion, right?
What's that? No.
Oh,
I'm
they're-
not even interested.
They just directed.
Wow, look at that.
DP,
Oh, my gosh.
hear from them.
Let's listen.
You can bring it a little closer.
Yeah,
Yes.
Wow, good job. man.
I
Good
love
job.
this.
Look at that.
Now make sure they also focus this way so it gets picked up on the camera too.
So we're very
Excuse
pleased with the end results.
Beautiful.
We're going to be able to use it next year. We're going to display it over the summertime. We're going to approach the library. We're going to put it in the police station, and we'll have it for the fall. The only thing I'm going to change about it is I'm going to put a little sign to explain the students. It's the SAD students that created it. And who was the artist?
Right here.
Excellent.
Who was the artist?
Beautiful.
Could you read some of the slogans, so, because not everyone's gonna be able to read it. What does it say here?
So the middle one says mind over matter. Then this right here says the chains of love are stronger than the chains of hate. And then the one in the corner over there that says focus on what really matters.
Nice.
And then there's a statistic at the bottom.
Very
And I
nice.
added to the statistic, because it said 69%, and it didn't say what, so we added of Mass high school students have not had a drink in the last 30 days. And
There you go.
31% have, just to demonstrate that it's not as prevalent as we think the teens think it is, still pretty high. So that our goal, in the fall, once these ladies and some of their other peers have a nice summer, our goal in the fall is to get this up and try to get that number down.
Fantastic.
Excellent.
Excellent.
And just a question on that upper left, the love your lungs. Because I do see something hovering over the V and the E.
It's like a fez. What is it?
So, this is I work for the Substance Abuse Prevention Collaborative, which is a BSAS initiative. And BSAS is, what we're trying to do is not show cigarettes and not show the item we're trying to get people not to do. So they had created it, originally it was drawn so that there was a cigarette and a vape pen here. So they took that out, and that's just the top of the heart.
Okay.
Top of the,
The vein or artery, yeah.
yeah.
So not like from our generation, we were concerned about air pollution being in trouble with lungs. Here, it's so the implied cigarettes, vaping are two of the main constituents. Okay.
And of all places, this week, California came out with a complete ban on one city in California of vaping, and it's something you probably should research and find out where they're going with it, because I could see that as catching on with complete banning of vaping. It seems like it has moved very quickly over the last couple of weeks. You guys might want to take a quick look and see which city in California is proposing that, and what they'd have for information and why they're doing it. Might be able to do your next portrait with something that comes from that angle. Beautiful, though.
And boy, if they only knew someone in state government too.
That's yeah.
And with the last meeting that we had before their final weeks, I asked them what was their major concern, what did they want to do? And they're interested in trying to determine some feasible policy change. So I can pretty much guarantee you that we'll be in front of you again in the fall with some ideas to see how we can all work together, including working on the PSA. We've been in contact with that. Because of the summer, I think that, you're only young once, so you only get the summer off once. But when you return the fall, we'll return, it's ready to go.
Yes.
And you folks will always be welcome here.
Thank you, we appreciate it.
And the more we hear this message, the more we will be supporting your efforts.
Yep.
Thank you, everyone.
Well, thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you for your work and
Please.
very nice start of a portfolio.
Have a great summer.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Okay.
Amazing artist.
Back to our scheduled new business, Route 38 Cafe, 2493 Main Street. Board discussion of the revocation of the permit to operate the food establishment.
So, Mr. Chairman, on May 10th, an inspection was conducted following a complaint at Route 38 Cafe. The inspector found issues of concern, which caused her to make a determination to immediately close the restaurant. The owner, who's here tonight, Mrs. Tom, was not present, I should say. He was in the building, but was not present during this inspection, nor did he come down to speak with the inspector. She closed the restaurant, and after that, after I reviewed the pictures and the details of the inspection, determined that not only is this an unsanitary, it was very unsafe and repetitive violations, high concern for the safety of the public and for the safety of anyone who, may enter the place. And rather than just suspending, I made a determination to revoke the license for Route 38 Cafe. It was posted on both doors at the restaurant. And in that posting, it said that the permit holder had 10 days to address, if they request to file a hearing, shall be held within 3 business days from that request. So that 10 days passed, and we received a letter to whom it may concern, we at Route 38 Cafe are requesting a public hearing of the Board of Health. That was past the time that they were able to request that. However, being that this was we were going to discuss it tonight, this is a board discussion to uphold this revocation, since it is an important decision to uphold the decision. I wrote him a letter wrote Tom a letter stating that we were having this hearing, and it's not a hearing, I apologize. We're having this meeting to formally validate the revocation of the permit, and out of consideration, even though it was late, that we would give Tom an opportunity to address the board prior to that determination. So that's where we are right at the moment.
I think the other piece to add is that violation notice, or the closure notice that was posted in both doors
Yes,
is no longer posted.
that's correct. I confirmed yesterday they've been removed. The tape is still on the door in the front, but neither of the cards are on the
I
door.
haven't been there. I've been at home in Watertown with my brother. So, the elements,
The tape's still there. It's not fallen down, or at least I didn't notice it. Maybe it's down. Just a notice, so it was just, again, a courtesy past the 10 days, so this is not an appeal hearing. However, if you like him, if it's okay with you, we could address the board.
So we're going to discuss upholding the revocation, is that what we're doing, or?
Yeah.
Well, that was the main, just
Well, yeah,
issue, but
Have them-
he wanted to have a conversation
as to
before that.
why we revoked it? Is that what we're doing?
No, he just wanted to address and say whatever he needed to say.
Okay.
But it's pretty clear that the revocation is in place, and the revocation is in place for a year. And there was no appeal taken in a timely manner. And this is a regularly scheduled Board of Health meeting, and we were going to take up the issue as to the revocation and discuss some of the things around the revocation. But since you're here, and you're here with a couple of people, why don't you introduce who's here and have everyone sign in there?
Yes, please, yeah.
this is a very dear friend of mine, Jane.
My name is Jane Bridgewater.
I'm Anne Marie O'Donnell, I work at the restaurant.
Okay.
If you folks, if you haven't already done so, sign the signage sheet, please.
Top
Up
right?
in the corner.
And the reason I had this put in the agenda tonight was given the gravity of this situation and the seriousness of it, I really wanted the board to formalize by vote whether we, just the action that was taken. Even though it was done in concert with the director and I talking several times, so it was not just a willy-nilly decision, but there was a great thought put into this decision, because it's hard for us to come to this type of a decision, but we both felt that there's really no other option in this case.
We'd like you to consider extending the right to appeal. His brother has been in and out of the hospital. He's had a lot to deal with aside from what's going on here. And we'd like an opportunity to speak outside and have it.
I would greatly appreciate it. I apologize for my actions, but I know business is business, but it's my family also. My brother, the restaurant is our priority because that's our bread and butter also, because we've worked very hard to be where we are right now, and to losing it. But I had to take care of my brother. It's only him and I.
And they just lost their dad who ran the restaurant last year.
That's all I asked for. Some little time to get some resources together, and I'll do whatever you ask me to do. I'll go back to schooling, to all my employees. I thought I had the right people at the right time, but I guess I was wrong.
Well, we really don't have a whole lot of power to hear an appeal of what you were required to do within 10 days of the order. So as a concession, you were allowed to come here, and we have to decide tonight whether or not we're going to uphold the revocation. And how we do that is we base it on what has been presented to us in the form of reports, and whether or not, you know, the restaurant as it currently exists with these violations is still a threat to the,
Would you be able to give us a list of what you're requiring, and we'll come back in 30 days and show you it's done, the pictures and everything?
well,
Have you come in and re-inspect?
this isn't one of those cases where remediation.
That was last summer.
That was last summer, right? So we did the remediation last summer, and the remediation failed. So then the health agent or the sanitarian goes in and finds further violations. You had an opportunity to appeal those, and you would have had a hearing immediately, within 3 days. I understand, I've heard the reasons why, but we don't have the power to alter what's required. We don't even have the power to extenuate circumstances, because the rule is hard and fast, and there's really no discretion in it. That's not to say that we're not here talking about a revocation and that the show's over. You still have the ability to request a hearing and come back here. Request the board consider an improvement plan or something else, correct?
No, at this point, it would have to be a full new application. A revocation is,
So there's no ability for us, is what you're telling me, there's no jurisdiction for us to hear any of the reasoning why
it would take a new application.
it would take a new
Yeah,
application.
because it's revoked for a year.
Yeah, so it's,
For us making your decision for 30 days while he...
we can't make up the rules as we go along. And my point was that you can come back, but as the director's telling you, it has to be under a new application. It can't be under the old license, because the old license has been revoked. It's no longer in existence.
So how would I go about going for the new license?
Well, you're going to have to go through the process again, and you're going to have to fill out an application. You're going to basically start from the beginning. Wouldn't that be accurate?
Right, it has to be fully compliant, have a plan, you know,
So-
an actual plan made up
With my
with,
credentials the way they are, how am I going to be guaranteed that I'll get my license?
I'm
Well,
sorry,
once you
Alex.
get a license back, it would be that you would be issued a license.
Right, so you'd,
They're saying you apply new and,
it would be as if you were a new owner.
right? Is that what
Basically.
you're saying? He applies new, and then he has to do everything that the town requires in
Right.
order to open.
That's exactly what,
Upgrades.
Is there a
and
year waiting
plans.
period?
What is the waiting period?
Well,
But
I
somebody
mean,
said
there are
something
other
about a year.
situations too, as Keith.
I'm not hard and fast on waiting
Concerned.
a year to reapply.
Well, I'm also, yeah, I mean, is it, this is very difficult, because it's hard to talk about things that aren't just floors, walls, and ceilings. And that's why this revocation, this is a matter of not safely running your operation, making choices that put people at jeopardy in the safety of this community. If that can be shown in the application, that there is someone there who will be fully responsible, that understands the gravity of food safety, understands and will take full responsibility and be a manager, maybe, something like that. But right now, the decisions are not in the best interest of this community. So an application would have to would require that there is somebody who can do this job and safely protect the public, because it's not happening. It's
And
not.
that's consistent with what the board does in every occasion. There's no way to bend these rules to accommodate you without starting anew. But I wouldn't want to prejudice you from attempting to do that, as if in fact you had, for instance, brought in somebody that was going to be a co-applicant.
That's actually happened, someone else said.
Correct.
Someone else.
So, for instance, you have a new co-applicant. Now, that's a change in circumstances that we can consider when you come in and open up again. But if you're going to come back in and not comply with all the rules and regulations, then you can't even get to step one, which is the acceptance of an application that complies with all of the requirements of the Board of Health. Just like opening a new restaurant requires a floor plan, the director has all the requirements. But it would seem to me that were you to bring in a change of circumstances that the board could consider on a new application, that it would be treated like any other application and processed like any other application.
Right.
And again, we can't make recommendations or tell you what to do or anything else. We can tell you that a change of circumstances is something that is probably consistent with the original revocation. And it might be something that you'd really want to consider.
I think the other thing to point out too is that on this May 10th, 2019 inspection with the combined 22 violations, this is not the result of one person's inaction.
No.
This is a total system failure of multiple people. So that's why there's really got to be that emphasis on having a manager, someone that is truly responsible there, that can ensure that the rest of the staff also is in compliance with everything, because food safety is not taken lightly by the board.
It's a difficult building as well, as you know, you've seen it, it's a home of some sorts, it's, been a restaurant, and there, Tom does live upstairs.
Occasionally,
It
ma'am.
appears, I don't know if there's a kitchen upstairs, I've never been up there, but it generally appears that he uses his kitchen as his own kitchen as well, just because of the items that are generally there. The basement really should not be used for food, even though it is now. It's been kind of, not grandfathered, but it's been there, but it's in terrible shape. I mean, there's a lot of things they would have to be fully upgraded to reopen. So it would take a complete application, bringing up to code.
Your application template is really the violations that are shown here that caused the revocation of the license. So, in creating a new application or looking for a co-applicant or a group of applicants or whatever, I mean, we have a pretty specific report of the violations that exist there. While some of them are related to the operation, others are related to infrastructure and what really necessarily needs to be in the building in order to properly open a restaurant. But my suggestion is that, you know, there are obviously other operators that you could rely on. There are other operators you could inquire with. And I suggest that, you know, you undertake that kind of analysis before you prepare an application with a change of circumstances coming back here.
I guess the key thing is that we're revocating the license for the business that was being run as it had been. And we're hoping that if you do come back for a new license, it's not the same business that have been running the same procedures and everything, because then you're going to be right back before us again. So this is a chance to give you a clean slate, but chance for you to have a new beginning and just out of the box think, if you could do it all over again, which we're giving you this chance, how would you do it? So while the revocation has negative connotation, we're also not telling you cannot reapply for a new license. So look at this as a positive side of now you have a chance for a fresh start if you opt to take that chance. And how would you do it? And then surround yourself with a good team of people to ensure that it happens, and it's not just initially, but it's sustainable. Then the future's yours. Because we're not trying to knock someone's aspirations. We just want to make sure whatever's done here in town keeps the residents safe. And yes, there are a lot of extenuating circumstances, but you chart your own future course about how you want this to go. Okay?
Thank you.
So with that, there has to be a motion on the table to uphold the revocation of the license until such time as a new application is submitted by this applicant and another co-applicant, or however he would like to approach it. But I would also add the caveat that when he has a compliant application and a compliant plan and a compliant checklist, that he be allowed to make that application to the board, to the director.
Sure. Okay, a motion's been put forth. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, would someone like to second that motion then?
I'll second it.
Okay. Motion's been put forth and seconded to approve the revocation of the current license or food establishment permit, and to allow the former permit holder to reapply at a future date. So,
Yeah, otherwise not restricting it, basically.
yeah, not restricted.
Yeah,
Yep,
there's no other restriction, yeah.
No other restrictions.
yep. So all those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye as well. Motion carries unanimously 4-0. Okay. Any questions for us about what we just,
I'll call soon,
okay.
if I may.
Yes.
Thank you.
The other thing is that the signage that was up there, the signage that was on the doors,
On the woods?
yeah, there was a placard on the door, correct?
They could replace it with their own closed sign.
We want you to, we don't,
Somebody hasn't been, I'll go
Well,
back there right now and find them and put them on.
well, you don't have to do that. You can replace them with your own sign, with your own plan. We're reorganizing, whatever it is you're doing.
Here's an example.
Seen
There's a
that, right?
restaurant on Main Street across from Hafner's.
Yeah.
And what do they have on the billboard?
Gotcha.
Even though
Okay.
there's, even though they may
So,
or may
so you don't have to, you don't have to keep that sign up. We don't want to prejudice you in any manner from reopening. We just want you to comply with everything. And if you want to put a sign up that says that we're under reorganization or we're doing whatever is required there, put it up there, okay?
Bob, could we get a copy of that, what you have, the 22 things?
That would be,
That was what was
I didn't
given.
get nothing, ma'am.
that would be,
Who's Anne Marie?
I was in Watertown.
You're Anne
well,
Marie.
then you could pick up a
You've signed
copy.
it.
You could pick up a copy
You didn't
at
get
the
a copy?
office.
Oh,
Okay.
you could.
No, I'm not the Anne Marie you're thinking. It's
Oh,
another Anne Marie that works.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you could pick up a copy of that at the office. That way,
I
you-
got the picture
Anne
from the
Marie.
post office, Tom's our mailman. I went to the post office, they did not have
Do we
that.
have,
They made
are you currently getting mail there?
Excuse me, sir?
Are you still getting mail there?
I do go pick it up,
Did you put your home address on that sign-in
She has
sheet?
it also.
Okay.
I have the original.
I gave it to one of
Why don't
them.
we just confirm your home address before we
Have the warrant.
excuse you?
Yeah, you can do that off record,
Yeah.
but just come up to the director, make sure that she has your correct home address.
Okay,
All right?
I don't have an
Okay.
extra copy right here,
Yeah.
so.
you do? Awesome. May
No,
I?
no, I don't
Okay,
have
no
one
worries.
right now, but I could go,
And just a little heads
I
up
just go
too,
do that quickly.
under the new 2013 Food Safety Code,
But this is just that moment. This is,
a copy of inspections have to be kept at the facility, and any patron can ask to see any inspection report.
Okay.
So
The only thing I'm behind is the allergen one. It was,
Well, you can, Susan is going to take care of getting a copy of that, so you guys are excused from the table, and we wish you the best of luck. Okay? All right.
have a good night.
thank you.
Take a break.
Yeah, we're going to take like a 5-minute recess.
Yeah, you're all set. Susan's going to meet you out there.
Okay.
Okay, good evening, Tewksbury. We are back live. It is 7:31. Moving into old business, body art regulation revision.
Just continuing the discussion, and we're not really going to have too much tonight, but you can tell them what we've done.
Yeah, the only other, I guess, movement is that Mr. Bichetti did speak with his insurance representative, who is on medical leave right now, but she is in the process of pulling together information I had requested of her that she'll then share with us, and looking at trying to schedule or another working group meeting to go over the body art.
I did have one phone call, someone asking about microblading. I told them until now we had a moratorium of not accepting applications, but I haven't heard from that person again, because I told them we were changing things, and that the most common thing that you've been consistent was the medical oversight of microbladers, so just so they'd be aware that that could be a possibility, so that if they wanted to apply, they can, but we don't, that's happened in 2 cases so far, so.
I don't think our position's going to change, that medical oversight's a distinct requirement, because this isn't a procedure that is accepted throughout all of the country without medical oversight, let's put it that way.
Right, so what I'd like to look at doing is schedule a working group meeting once I know that Tony has received the information from the insurance person, so that we actually have the information on malpractice insurance that covers that industry. At the same time, I will work on drafting up some change language about the medical oversight, so we can try to do this as a small, and not try to do a massive rewrite, but just add in the pieces that we've been talking about. So my goal is to have the work group meeting before our next meeting in July. But I'll get working on the some proposed revisions before that. Okay.
So we still aren't allowing any new
Well, that was.
body art people to,
As
license
it was
and stuff.
expiring right now, tomorrow, so if you wanted to extend that, you need to do that, or just let it
Well-
happen, so.
I'm not in favor of extending it. They're in business, they need to,
Yeah, no one, like I said, I haven't had many applications.
right?
So we just let it go, and if someone comes, they come.
Yeah.
Just-
Well, the reason I,
So there's no action being taken on extending it this
Right.
evening?
Right.
but the reason I agreed to it last time was because Dr. Bichetti was here, and they kind of had to go with his lead, so he's not here tonight, so I'm against it now.
Your arm is out, not twisted in the back. Not getting the look.
So no action will be taken on extensions of the,
Right, we'll just let it expire
yeah.
tomorrow. Okay, director reports.
Now, just a few updates. I included the Burger King in report, and Maureen Lee's comments, basically, one Priority Foundation violation. The person was retrained after they used the hand sink, apparently, not for just washing hands. But everything else was in compliance. Was it in the last month, they had that event? Yeah, they
Yeah.
had another Ansel system event that went off without fire. So they are clean, again, every time, they get super clean every time.
I've learned something, because the first time that
Yeah,
I've gotten 2 calls from 911 dispatch on Saturday mornings at 6 a.m. And I'm like, what's the coincidence of getting 2 phone calls?
Yeah.
Once when I'm in St. Lucia, so there was nothing I could do to come up for that. And then come to find, I went down to Burger King that day, and I'm assuming the other restaurant occurred the same thing. When they come in the morning to turn on all the equipment, they
That's why
turn on
it's
the
a bad
fryer
time.
laters to start warming up the oil, and that's when the Ansel system discharges.
Okay, great.
So now I understood why this is happening at 6 in the morning. I figured, oh, the dispatch is just waiting till a more reasonable hour rather than call us in the middle of the night, but no, that's not why.
No, I know, or that Friday morning, rather than wait for 2 hours when Shannon's gonna come to work.
Right.
Calls you in St. Lucia, but, yeah, unfortunately, we're not 24/7 responders. We don't carry beepers, there's no compensation for that thing, so often, and I guess a little coaching would be too, is that sometimes what I would do is if I'm in the area, I get the phone call, I would call, ask for the name of the incident commander or whoever's on duty, call them, speak to them. Often they just need us to know, and then if they know we're coming, that's fine, like they don't have to wait. Or you could also, if it's in a case of a place that maybe now you have a relationship with that place, you might say, hi, whoever you are, and get them on the phone and say, okay, you know what to do, and we'll be there in 4 hours, you know. You don't always have to go all the time, because it's just a matter of they won't be opened. It's not a life or death situation for anyone to come out at 6 a.m. to see an Ansel system. It's just not. So,
Well, the other thing I learned about the one Burger King was that they couldn't reopen anyways till someone can buy to recharge the system. So I
So it
figured that
was-
has built-in safety because,
yeah, so it's okay to say, you know, we can't always be there right at the moment they need it, but they're closed
because you
until
couldn't
then
do
anyway.
anything if you were there.
Yeah, exactly. So you'd run down and that would be that. Any life safety issue would have been taken care of. So
Yeah.
if someone needed to be removed, they would have been removed. So if they weren't allowed in there, they wouldn't be allowed in there. So that's just food for thought. The reason you guys get the calls is unfortunately when I go up north on the weekend, I'm in a no cell zone. There's actually those. So I don't get to triage these problems, unfortunately.
I did have a comment on Maureen Lee's report,
Go for it, yes.
and, you know, having looked at them before, you know, having food received at proper temperature not observed, that is not something that should be not observed.
Not
They should have-
observed is what her not observed.
Okay, so that doesn't mean,
Correct. It doesn't mean they didn't observe. it
that's
just means
correct.
she did
So,
not.
so my point is, when we have a not observed,
Yes.
it requires a follow-up on the next report around, that the inquiry be made to the food handlers that there's proper handling coming into the building. I don't know, and especially in the summer months, you know, we have food that is delivered, it sits, and then it's put away. Those are the types of things that cause me concern when I see not observed by her does not mean it's not happening,
Yes, correct.
okay? So when you see an NO on these, it just means she didn't observe it. It doesn't mean that anyone else is actually complying with protocols that are in place. And when I see a not observed by someone that's doing these types of inspections, I'd like a follow-up just to say, well, since it wasn't observed the last time, you just need to follow up with the employees that they are being observed by them. So I would just bring it to her attention,
So, she,
especially on the food delivery stuff and the temperature coming in.
so you're asking that she speak to the manager about
Correct.
the observation. So I
Correct.
don't see this now, but this is what I would have
Right, expected.
Expected.
Exactly.
Okay, I
Exactly.
understand what
And, you know, right now, and you see it all the time, all you have to do is go to Restaurant Depot and see it being loaded into a trunk and transported somewhere in the Commonwealth or New Hampshire. And to be honest with you, I know that's probably not happening there, but it does happen. And it's one of the,
Right,
one of
then
the,
if she did that, then she could note it back.
correct.
Right,
That's
'cause
all I have.
that terminology, not observed, has a negative connotation.
does.
And it's
Yeah,
an impartial, because it,
Why wouldn't we want her to follow up on that as opposed to taking it, to ask a question? I mean, there's things in here like proper cooking times and temperatures, what do you ask?
Not
them?
observed.
Are you cooking it right? Yeah, I mean, what are they gonna say, no?
Well, no,
I mean, she should be,
it depends what time of day she goes, it depends what's going on,
Yeah.
so.
Well, they're cooking right at Burger King, right?
I think Charlie's point is, those kind of things are important enough to have a little more due diligence in trying to find a temperature, or at least look at the log and determine that the temperatures were being held at 185 or whatever it is, right? So I can understand she did an excellent job in the report, and I think some of those other things are things that,
Coming to an end soon, I can't remember. when.
It
I know
is.
we had, I think,
it
extended
is,
it.
and I think it's
July.
August, it's coming to an end, end of August.
Kath, was that if we done, because there's one we done through the end of the year.
I don't know if this is
It
the
was
one
the
that
end
we
of the year, but
extended
then
for
you
3 months.
extended. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
but we
did.
extended it for a short period of time. I don't know if it was for the whole year.
Well, because remember, they were like, are you sure?
Right,
And
yeah,
they
we were
didn't,
sure.
and they
Well,
didn't hire her, and they didn't hire her.
Originally, it was through the end of the year to
Yeah.
coincide with the food permit.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
And then we extended out to, I thought it was to
Might-
July or
was it the
so,
end of
because,
July, which is August.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah.
yeah, we kicked out another 6 months.
She also has been working with E-Market. E-Market asked if they could have slush. Again, I said no. I wouldn't entertain, and they asked, could they have ice cream and put in a dip well? And my answer was, this year, we wouldn't entertain any change in their process because they've been, there's a reason, they're working with a professional. They need to show,
Why wouldn't,
progress through the end.
if they're working with a professional and they're thinking of making changes, why wouldn't they approach the professional and say, we'd like to make some changes, can you help us?
They did.
Okay.
And I came, and she came to me, and my answer was, I would not entertain that this year.
I
don't
thought
think
it
they-
maybe came in direct,
They
but
have
they
not.
did go through her.
They did directly, and she told them that she would do the paperwork for them and assist them when the time came, if they wanted to. But considering that was one of the violations that they didn't, we asked them to remove it, they didn't remove it, they removed it, then they put it back. I mean, it's just one of those things, like, why would you ask that question now? But, so that was my decision. People GIS update, so the next phase will, hopefully, we have this is for the permitting system going online. We have a scheduled, I think it's August 7th, or maybe it was the week before, we're meeting that he's going to work on our iPads, load them up with the inspection software. We're going to have a day of training. Lisa will have training on also working with the actual permitting system. It's going to go live, right after that. Live meaning to us, that we'll use that from that forward. We won't use our Excel spreadsheets anymore. I'd like to see going live on Pay Online by the end of the year. I don't really want to wait. Do the bugs, get it, do it, be done with it, it can be done. So I just think it would be better for everything, for finance, data entry. I think it would help all these corporations that can't get it together because they're local, they're corporations in Minnesota and they're here. I think it would help. So that's my goal. I'm going to still try and push for this year to get it online. So that's good news there. The announcement I have here of the free cars, you got that, right?
Yep.
Yeah, free car seat safety event is tomorrow, 1 to 3, at the police station. So hopefully people take advantage of that free help, just to keep their kids safe. The bike rodeo was a success. Maria did show up. She was there. Yes, she was. So it was a beautiful day. I think there were a lot of things going on. It was, there weren't hundreds of people there, but everyone who was there had a good time. And it was a lot of fun. Everyone looks really forward to the National Night Out, which is always the first Tuesday in August. So we look forward to that.
And anything on mosquitoes? Is the spraying up to date? Have there been requests?
The first report was received. I was actually going to ask you, do you want weekly arbovirus reports that I get, or?
I don't think it hurts, especially with
You're welcome, I'll
yeah,
forward
with
them to
the-
you.
yeah.
They come from the state, and they tell you how many pools of mosquitoes were tested, how many, equine were tested, or, things like that, to say whether there are any positives humans, any positive that. And it goes by county. It wouldn't tell us the town, but if it's our town, they call me probably almost simultaneously as it comes out, but they call us directly.
How about requests for spraying? Has it been brisk or?
According to
Yeah.
someone who called me today and said they asked, and it's been 4 or 5 days and they haven't seen anyone yet, but, so we, it's on the town website, it was in the newspaper, so that anyone can contact Central Mass Mosquito Control and request spraying on their property. It's not something they'll come back and do over and over and over, but they will do it. So if you are having an event this, a couple of weeks or something, and
Plan in advance.
plan in advance, and that's you can call mosquito squad or whatever it is you want, but at least you take advantage of what their town already pays for. It's, you're paying for it, so it's a good thing.
Yeah, a truck came down my street last week, and tonight coming over here, I saw one pulling over, knowing they're not going to be able to spray with the rain going, but
And I'm working diligently with the remaining food establishments that are working on their grease tanks. And the J just put in 5,500 gallon to the 3,000 and 2,500. Mirabella's is moving forward. I'm waiting for the filing for Capolini's. I mean, it's slow. Not right now. It's just getting there, getting them to cross that finish line.
Well, at least the finish line's in sight.
Yeah, for most of them, yep.
if you can refresh my memory, what was happening at French's?
So I met with the new owner and Mr. French, and they agreed that, well, I told them that since apparently it's not going to be raised, that they needed to put in the tanks, and I want to use the word renovate, but come into compliance with the rest of the premise. So I've been waiting for the plan. He came with a preliminary kind of drawing, but I haven't seen him in a few weeks, so it's just I don't know what's going on there, but I saw the owner of the property this week, and I asked him to contact him directly, and
Is that someone
Meeting
different
with
other than
me.
the operator?
it is, yeah. Yeah. John Ferneros owns that now. He purchased it this past year, and he had grand plans with it, but it's not happening in that way, so it's time to do like everyone else and work on the structure itself. They will be doing that. So yeah, Tewksbury House of Pizza, they'll be tying in the sewer. They were on a septic system, not anymore. So again, they're still out there, but if we're on that end slide, definitely.
The only thing I mentioned is we're talking about mosquitoes. When I was out in my yard working this weekend, I have never seen more ticks in my life.
Oh, yes, please.
They are,
It's awful.
I saw almost as many as I saw mosquitoes, and there were a lot of mosquitoes.
No, not every tick has a disease, but the amount in this county, I mean,
Do you still have the tick cards for identification?
I do, yeah.
And I would
them out.
recommend anybody to come down, pick up a tick identification card. Even though all ticks need to be removed, there are certain ticks that can be identified immediately from a card out of a wallet or out of a pocketbook that might lead you to at least make further inquiry as to what the results of that bite could be.
I think that UMass still looks into those ticks. If you process them through UMass, I think they'll tell you if they
Yeah, you
If
can
they're-
send them
Yeah,
in.
yeah, I think so.
They got
We
lined
have
up.
these the fake bagels with poppy seeds on them, and there's little ticks sewn on them, and we give the kids at these events, and they try and find them.
Yeah.
They don't realize how small they are.
Right.
And we're told a story from one mother, I guess a girl who did that last year, and she took the tick guard and she found a tick on, like right after, found a tick on her friend at school and took her to the teacher, and she was like, see, it's a tick, and hey, one kid at a time, right? One
all you can
education
do.
at a time.
So on those tick identification cards, we can only order, I think it's 50 at a time from the state, because they must be so popular. I'm wondering if there's not some way we can put a copy on our website so that people can just,
Oh, sure, we could do that, yeah. Oh, we
Download
have
a
a box
copy.
of them, but yeah,
because
I never thought of it.
I have only 50, and I'll gladly give them so I get some storage space, even though they're tiny, but
Yeah. People take them. That's one of the
Yeah.
things, boom, boom, they're taking right off. Everyone was picking them up.
I mean, I have one in my wallet.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the bottom line.
yeah.
So that's, we're just doing what we gotta do.
So any other comments or anything from other board members? Well, Mr. Rue?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we end this meeting tonight.
Okay.
I'll have to second that, Charlie.
Robert Gerard, thank you.
Okay. So motion's been put forth and second to adjourn tonight's meeting. All those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Okay, chair votes aye. I guess we'll make it unanimous. It's 7:53 PM. Good night, Tewksbury.
Good night.